discussion and audience participation panel, so we're going to have a Q&A mic, and we definitely want to hear your perspectives too. So yeah, we're going to talk for a little bit about why we chose this topic and how we relate to it, and then we just want to talk to you about it and share our thoughts.
Okay, hi, that's me. I'm Harriyanna. I'm an author. I'm also a video essayist, and I'm a small business owner. I do a lot. I be tired. But I'm also just some cute little fun facts about me. I am Descendants historian. I know everything about Disney's Descendants. It makes no sense. I'm also a Natalie Sinclair apologist. I know she'd be wrong, but I understand her decisions. And I'm married to Warwick Arcangelo, and then also I'm dating Toji Nanami-Choso.
Yeah, go ahead, girl.
Yeah. And then also, you guys are interested in checking out my work after this. I have my video essays are on YouTube at Harriyanna, and then if you're interested in my shop, in my blog, and my books, the blog is free to read, by the way. It's at harriyannahook.com. I also have a few business cards to give out afterwards, so yeah. Okay, so over the summer, me and my good friend named Amaya Janelle, we ended up writing a book together called Do Not Call Me Sis, and it was a collection of essays relating to like just fandom shenanigans and what it is like to be a Black woman in fandom spaces. And we talk a lot about like misogynoir, we talk a lot about ableism because Amaya is a disabled Black woman. She mainly wrote all of those essays though. We talk a lot about colorism, we talk a lot about like racism and all of the isms and phobias and all that. And one thing that really made me want to do this panel was there was a section of that book that I wrote going off about Miraculous Ladybug. Miraculous Ladybug is a show that it tried to do. It's a show. Yeah, it tried when it comes to representation, but it failed tremendously. And they failed really bad with a character named Penny Rolling. And I really did relate to her because she's a fairly young Black woman in an animated series that doesn't have kids, and she has like a pretty interesting job. And that is something that we don't often see in Western animation. But what they did with her was a mess. So I'm gonna read you guys a section from my book that I wrote about Penny. So I said, one character from Miraculous Ladybug that caught my eye as I got older is Penny Rolling. Characters like Penny aren't characters we often see in animation, that being a Black woman that is relatively young and isn't a mother. Because usually when we see Black women in animated series, they're usually like the mother of like one of the child protagonists, which isn't bad. We need to see that, but like that'd be the only thing they'd be doing. Or they'd be a teacher, which isn't bad, but can we have some diversity? But anyway. Penny is the manager of the singer Jagged Stone, and Penny's only purpose is dedicated to helping a white person. The material is heart-wrenching. Penny is a woman of color of darker skin that has devoted all her time to Jagged Stone, this white man who cannot function without her. We see that Penny prioritizes all her time to Jagged, and it stresses her out. It takes a toll on her when it all becomes too much. She's doing all this for a man who makes horrible music, is rude to others, and is a deadbeat father. You see the problem now? Yeah. She broke down and cried one day at work because she felt like she failed him. Right when it felt like we were going to see a change in her character, it was revealed that Penny was in love with Jagged, and that's why she goes out of her way for him all the time. Yeah. This show is disrespectfully bad sometimes, but okay. This is inappropriate. Okay, that's why she goes out of her way. This is inappropriate because Penny should not be dating her client, but it gives another horrible excuse as to why she acts the way she does when it comes to him. The strong Black woman trope includes a Black woman who goes out of her way for those around her no matter how she's doing. Penny hurts, but she sucks it up and puts Jagged before her at all costs because her feelings have gotten in the way of professionalism. So I talk a lot about the subject of just women of color, just women in general in animation, but especially women of color. And that is some of what I have to say in my book regarding how Miraculous Ladybug represents that like only Black woman in the show. They ended up doing something much worse with her later, but the book was already finished, so I couldn't put it in there, but yeah.
I'm Kiki. I am non-binary and Indian, and I am a video essayist on YouTube under the name Offbeat Kiki. I'm also a voice actor and a vocalist, a musician, an illustrator, and a Danny Phantom historian. If you have any question about the show, I can tell you with looking at answer is, unfortunately. If you want to check out my work, I have video essays under Offbeat Kiki on YouTube, and if you like music and listening to music, I am in an animated cartoon band called Ellie and Knox, which you can find on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. In October, I made a video called Velma, Outrage, and the Model Minority Myth, and around that time I had been reading the book White Tears, Brown Scars by Ruby Hamad, so I wanted to share a quote that I used at the beginning of that video that I feel like relates to our discussion today. Brown and black women are deeply impacted, often without realizing it, by the grind of living in a society that does not recognize, let alone reward, their value. Overwhelmingly disbelieved when they try to shed light on their experiences of gendered racism, the lack of support they receive adds to the initial trauma, leaving them questioning reality as well as themselves. Okay.
So, if it's not obvious, I am a black feminine presenting person. I identify as woman, my pronouns are she, her. So, I always want to watch things that have people that look like me in it. But when it comes to the ratio between, live action black media and just animation that has black characters in there, it's a big difference. So and I'm somebody that always loves animation. I've always been more drawn to cartoons than I have been with live action, even though I appreciate both mediums. So that is why I kind of cling on a lot to one of the few black characters that we will often get in our shows. And even though a lot of them do suffer from tokenism and whatnot, it's they tried, the effort was put there, but there is a lot that can be done and can be fixed. So on the screen, the thing about it is that I love all these characters, by the way. I really like Lilo because even though Lilo was not black, she's Pacific Islander. Okay. Yeah, she was a brown girl that didn't fit in. She had a hard time getting along with people and whatnot, and I could understand that because that's how it was for me when I was in cheerleading. But I have Tiana right here, and Tiana. Listen. I love Tiana. Everyone that knows me knows that I love her. The Princess and the Frog came out in 2009. To this day, that is still the only animated film that stars a black woman. Not a black girl, a black woman. How long ago was 2009? It was a whole while ago. Yeah. And I'm somebody that will always sit here and defend Tiana when needed, but I also will call out Disney for how they could have done a much better job with her. Because, wow, like I said, Tiana, this is the only film we have, not mainstream. There most likely is an indie one out there that I don't know of. If you know, tell me. Mainstream film, animated film that stars a black woman, and she's not even human for most of it. Yeah, she's not even human for most of it. Back in December, I made a video called An Unhinged Breakdown of the Princess and the Frog, and I really wanted we here. And I wanted to focus away from talking about how Tiana was mainly a frog in that film, because often when people do discuss the Princess and the Frog, that is the main thing they focus on. And I often like to bring other discussions with about representation in animation when it comes to pretty much everything. And I did want to add something new to the table. I was let's actually look at Tiana's character. I'm okay, she's gorgeous. Don't argue with me on that, okay? She's gorgeous, she has great work ethic, but I also did appreciate how we did get to see her, be vulnerable and, make mistakes, because, girl, what you out here doing kissing frogs for? Yeah, that's how you know she was going through it. That's how bad it was for her. And I did appreciate how we did get to see her get angry and get sad and all of that. Because, often when it comes to, black women, it's not even just black feminine presenting people in general. Everyone expects us to be strong and always, carry for everyone and do this and that and to provide for every single last person around us. But then it's oh, put yourself last. Everyone else has to come before you. And, as somebody who has been going through it for the last year, I can relate a lot to Tiana more now as an adult than I did as a child. And that's because when I was a kid, grief didn't necessarily affect me, but it does a lot now. It affects my day-to-day life. And I completely understand why she acts the way she does regarding her father's death and all of that. So I mentioned in my video that I made, I was like, if you stop the movie right before she kisses Naveen and he turns into a frog, it kind of feels like an adult animated film because of how well they were able to capture Tiana's human emotions and the environment and just everything about her. Like, I love her, okay? Like, I don't ever make me hate her, all right? You were good.
I think we can just go to the next one. Yeah, so I guess if we want to spend some time talking about impact of different characters that were women of color and girls of color in animation, some of the ones I put on here are Maria and Jasmine were two non-black people of color characters that I liked growing up, but I felt like the very limited representation of like non-white, non-black characters, they were also always kind of put in a bad light. Like, one of Maria's most prominent episodes in Brace Face is when she teaches Sharon how to steal, which is not great. And then I got the shot of Jasmine. She's like 14 years old, but because she's like a Middle Eastern, like brown woman, she's like totally sexualized and wearing basically like a harem outfit, even kisses Jafar, and she's a minor. So
Hate that scene.
yeah. So I was just thinking about like the way that brown women are exoticized even as teenagers, and the bad roles they put them in, and the effect of that had on me, like growing up and seeing myself on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the other day I asked them about how did they feel about Paulina from Danny Phantom, because she was pretty much like the only brown girl in that show, or of like importance. And I was like, I get like the 2000s did this thing where they like put a character of color in there, like with Maria, and then they're like the only character of color or of that race, and then they have them do some of the most diabolical things. And it's just like, I really, like Paulina, I'm happy that the representation was there, but I did start to feel like kind of like iffy when it came to the way the show portrayed her.
Yeah, if Danny Phantom in particular just feels like they slapped different skin colors on different characters to have diversity, and then didn't think at all about the repercussions of making certain characters do certain things.
Yeah, because like speaking of like Snowball,
It was written by white people.
yeah. Like it reminded me because I did a series on my channel back in November called like Nick November. So Nickelodeon, I noticed, had a really big problem with this with a lot of their Nicktoons from the 2000s, because I was talking about Britt and Tiff Crest, the Crest cousins from My Life as a Teenage Robot. Yeah. And I pointed out how the show has a colorism issue, because like I said, we barely see any dark skin or people with darker skin in the show all the time, unless they're shoved in the background or like in a wide crowd shot. And the one that we see the most, who is Britt,
As a villain.
yeah, she's literally the worst person ever. Her entire motive in the show is just to bully Jenny and just make her life awful. And I was like, and somebody had in my comment had asked me, they were like, are black girls not allowed, just black girls, or just girls of color of darker skin, are they not allowed to be the villains in the stories? And I was like, I'm not saying that they can't be the villain, but why is it that anytime you need a villain and you pick the only character of color to be the villain? That's where it becomes an issue. That's when I said where a lot of just white writers in particular, I feel like we all have to be careful with that, but a lot of white writers in particular don't seem to realize that there are just certain things you don't do because they can be read to be racist.
Bouncing to another character on the screen, if you guys have seen Inside Job, the woman in the orange blazer is Gigi. Inside Job is a really fun adult animated cartoon, and it starts out, you don't think it's going to get that deep, but they do try to go and develop all of the stories for all of the characters in the staff of the office, except for Gigi. At the end of season 2, she's still like the peppy social media manager, still like, you know, invented selfies, silly, upbeat, but like there's no story to her character in the way that they took time to develop the story of every other character, including the veteran who's like half dolphin. So even the joke characters get story, but Gigi doesn't. So I wanted to put her on there because that show came out in the last like year or two, and I was still disappointed with how she was portrayed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the woman that I was talking about in the excerpt that I pulled from my book, this is her over here on the side. She has a short pink hair with the leather jacket and the white shirt. That's Penny. In general, Miraculous Ladybug is not the best when it comes to writing women. And that is just an overall issue when it comes to the animation industry as a whole. There needs to just be more women in the writer's room. Because that is where I've noticed. It was like something I mentioned the other day, like how my opinions about Sam from Dating Panel changed.
Yeah.
Because I realized misogyny. That's why. Because somebody so it was like, you ever look back at a female character you hated and just realize she was written by men? And I was like, yeah. But Miraculous Ladybug in general does not do a good job of writing women, and they most definitely do not do a good job of writing taboo subjects. And the thing that bothered me the most with Penny is that she's the music manager for a guy named Jagged Soul. He's a musician, but Jagged is he's like a very awful person. And it wouldn't bother me if she just simply worked for him and that was just like her client, okay, everything's strictly professional, but she's like heavily involved in his personal life. It is revealed later on that Jagged has 2 kids that are about to turn 16. He was not in their life for 6 years, that long. This is miraculous. Like,
wait, what?
People think I'm lying when I say that. We're gonna have a panel about that later this week.
Let's pick up these. I think up these.
It's okay. But he has 2 children, they're twins by the way, from another woman that he was in a band with. And she just sees no issue with any of this. She sees no issue with his behavior in general, because he does just very weird and like off-putting stuff. And it's just everything she does is for him. Her entire life surrounds him. All her feelings, pain, whatever. He's like honestly a contribution to why she be irritated half the time, not half, like 80% of it. And I get that mentioned in my book that it came out before I ended up finding out what happened with her later when they went to like get shipped off for printing and all of that. And she basically she went with him. She still took him. Like after she found out about him not being in his children's life, him being awful to his baby mother and all of that, she still went off with him in the end because she was like, oh, I love him too much. And I ain't even gonna say too much. It just gets worse. Like, why are they training like this? Like they're about to be jujitsu sorcerers now at this point. They ran off and did something. It's like she ran off with the man. It's so like bizarre, and people think I'm lying when I tell them this was in Miraculous Ladybug in a children's show. And it's just Miraculous, like I said, Miraculous doesn't do a good job of writing women in general, but it was like a different time than disrespectful with her because at like, we have an inside job right here. I didn't even know about her because I barely see anybody talk about her. Yeah, but like Penny, barely any of the fans pay attention to Penny except like me and 10 other people. But it's just, it was like a different kind of frustration with Miraculous, and I actually had to step away from the show for a minute because for those of you guys that don't know, I'm still in college and I'm minoring in African American Studies. And so much of what we focus on in our work, and not even just my African American Studies courses, my English courses too, just as well. We focus a lot on representation within our media, like all forms, books, animation, all of it. And it's just kind of hard for me to unsee all of these problems regarding representation with animation, as it's something that I've always been deeply passionate about. And it just kind of worries me because the episodes with Penny and her basically acting, I don't know, what even was this? She's not okay. She's very unwell. All of this came out within like the last year. And I was like, I expected this behavior from the 2000s, but it just worries me because I'm like, it feels like when we stepped like 2 steps forward, we go 3 steps back. Because I was talking to my friend Jay about this, and I was like, for every Craig of the Creek we get, we're gonna get like 10 more hot messes after that. Because Craig of the Creek, that is, when it comes to representation, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I'm like, when are we gonna see something else like this? Because Miraculous Ladybug is, I'm sorry for dragging that show again, but, and I even mentioned how there are characters from, I recently made a video talking about Black love in the 2000s and how it was, thank you. It was not good. And it was barely there, first of all. And I was going through all of like these characters, and I was just like, so much of this stuff, I look differently at it now, and one character in particular that I still do love her character because I appreciated the representation, and Cree Summer is Queen. But Susie Carmichael, it's so frustrating seeing what was done with her in All Grown Up because it was very much given token black friend to Angelica. And she didn't really have like her own type of like love interest or anything like that. Correct me, Kiwi, if I'm wrong. That's the All Grown Up story. But I was like, it's just like so much of Susie's character was just her just wandering around with Angelica and Angelica being awful to her and her having to like Susie will hand it to Angelica. That's one thing I did appreciate about her, but that's all it pretty much was. And we did get some episodes where we see that Susie was stressed out with having to be perfect and she was doing too much and everything like that. And I really wish we could have saw more of that with Susie, but we did not. And I even talked about Hey Arnold. Okay, so Hey Arnold Hey Arnold is a show that I think has aged well for the most part, but there are many things about it that are questionable. And there was one episode, there's actually two episodes, and they both have to do with Jamie O and Gerald. There's one episode, it's actually one of my most viewed YouTube videos at this point. There was a black girl named Chloe, and the entire episode, she is like a 13-year-old throwing herself at a 16-year-old boy. And this is like one of the few black girls that we see in this series, and she is just portrayed to be fast. Yeah, the video they call she's fast. That's literally how they portrayed her, and that's something that I had to deal with a lot growing up. Like when people would sit here and call me fast simply because I wanted to wear shorts because it was hot outside. Like black girls have to deal with so much adultification, and this episode being out did not help that. And then there was another episode of Hey Arnold that had to deal with Gerald's older brother, Jamie L again, and he ends up dating a girl named Charisse, and she is. Like I said, I always try to like keep what I say, like any negative things I say about black women to a minimum because we have it hard enough. But both of these girls were a hot mess. She was basically using Jamie O. She was using her for money. He was doing her laundry for her. He was cooking for her. And she was just like, he just does anything for me, and I don't even like him like that. And I was like, and it's just like little things like that because Hey Arnold, and then we had Timberly, who was Gerald and Jamie O's little sister, and she was just annoying. Like, you know, the annoying little kid character. But Hey Arnold, like I said, it's a great show, but there's just a lot of things about it that did not age well, especially when it came to race. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Cool. You want to talk about Valerie?
Valerie? Oh, yeah.
The best character in anything.
The best girl. We love Valerie. Valerie is another character that is also very important to me because, it's funny because one time Kiki did something where they were like, ranking my characters as like Danny Phantom characters, and they put me as Valerie. So
we talked about from the presentation.
Yeah, you put me as Valerie. But Valerie, I did appreciate how they actually did stuff with her character. Like she just wasn't like a token black character that was put in the back. That was Tucker. And I even talked about her in the Black Love video where the Black Love video, I don't even know what that was. That was Black Situationship, okay? But she actually did have some type of relationship with Tucker, but she didn't like him because he was irritating. Valid, he was irritating. But then she like pretends to like him later on, and I'm like, ooh, girl, like, ooh. But there are a lot of like questionable things that she does, but it does contribute to her character because we see that she is going through it. Her family ends up losing like all their money. I'm trying to raise one in a minute.
Yeah. I feel like Valerie's maybe the first like layered black girl character I saw in cartoons when I was a kid. There's so much going on with her. She's ousted by her crew. This stereotyped popular kids after her dad goes broke.
And she has to like start ghost hunting in order to help her father.
She's like got the most complex character arc in the entire show.
Yeah.
And she has a fling with the main character, and like they have like one of the best relationships in children's animation, and
she ends up becoming a disposable black girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that's how they got rid of her. And if you're not familiar with the disposable black girlfriend trope, it's usually where a black girl or a black woman is brought into the show to help a non-white guy grow or progress or whatnot. And then like when her impact isn't needed anymore, she is taken out of the series. One of the worst examples of this dishonorable mention would have to be from Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Talk about it.
Because they did it with Kelly.
Talk about it.
They literally brought her in to be, okay, they were like Marco's rebound. And I was like, rebound. And she was there and then they broke off camera. Like I laughed because it's ridiculous.
The fact that like you never see Valerie and Danny have a conversation about the fact that she's been hunting him for several years before the show ends pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
All right, well, we talked about all these, and we love Monique. I have nothing bad to say about Monique.
Yeah. Kim said something to her where she insisted on.
All right, what about you? We want to have like a Q&A and discussion and hear your thoughts on animated women of color. So, yeah, if people want to step up to the mic. You're the closest. You go first.
All right, so.
Mike?
Oh, yeah, there's a mic here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Harry mentioned Craig of the Creek, so that's one thing I wanted to hear be brought up here. That's great.
Yeah.
The other thing would be Moon Girl.
Oh, I love Moon Girl.
That's great.
No notes. No, okay, there are some notes I have. There are regarding the robot character, but like no notes after that. Great, love it, amazing show. Disney is doing it dirty though. I'll say that. Like, what? I didn't even know season 2 came out, and then they put it on Disney Plus. They tell us.
Yeah,
I didn't know Moon Girl came back until I was driving down Kendall Road and I saw unicorn. It was like at the Martin bus stop. And I was like, Moon Girl came back, I didn't even know.
It's like weird. It's in like a weird gray area where it feels like Disney wants it to be a plus show, but it can't be.
Yeah.
So it's like it can't attract either crowd.
Yeah.
It's like the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But yeah, I just wanted you to talk about Moon Girl because she deserves to be mentioned.
She does.
Disney needs to do more for all of their current women of color characters.
I also appreciate how Moon Girl gave the grandmother a storyline because we rarely see black women in animation, especially one that is that old, have like pretty much any depth to the story. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, there's also an episode involving your grandfather, I think.
Was it in season 2?
Yeah.
Okay. I ain't get there yet.
Next question.
Next question.
Not there.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Hello.
First question: has anyone, specifically y'all two, has anyone seen the new Fairly Odd Parents yet? In which
I've been looking at it and I was so scared for them to come out with that because anytime something that is on like already existing IP and they put like a girl of color or a feminine presenting person of color in there, people like start rioting. And I was so worried when I saw that, but people said that they actually put a lot of heart into the series.
Yeah,
so.
I heard a lot of people say that. Like, also,
Wait, we realized Timmy was the problem?
I haven't
Watch it.
Keep your fury. Season 6 is the best place to start.
Let me put it this way. One of the show.
Until we get that later. Okay,
Next question. We love
Infinity Train.
Hello.
Hi.
That alone.
Okay, so hey babies. Multiple things. So this isn't just an animation, but you see it in animation as well. In which there's this artist, photographer, Kimberly Douglas on Instagram. I love her stuff. And one day she posted about like within cottagecore is what spiked the thought, but how you really don't see dark-skinned black women in soft spaces, especially in fantastical and magical spaces. And so when we do see them, they're most likely to be a beast or evil or beastly. And so when you brought up Valerie, it was like cool, but like also she ended up kind of being more so anti-hero and not being allowed to be in a space of like, ooh, I'm magical, I'm fantastical, I'm someone of needing saving or of protecting. Because often the black of a black woman is you don't need protection. You're facing your blackness and everything else with that. And so like that. But then have you watched Kipo, The Age of Wonder Beasts?
I had not finished it, but I watched like half of it. I know what you're talking about.
I think you should watch it. Well, Wolf, but also Kipo, she's mixed. She's black and Asian. So like I think it works, but like that show is so great. Like actually when I think about it, the whole like the main cast of characters, they're all black. which is really great. And I think they give people, and like her, they give Wolf a backstory. That's really nice, and they allow her to start opening up, and they explore why she has this tough girl persona, and so it goes beyond that. But like, yeah.
That's one thing I really liked about Wolf, because it's like, we can see that this little black girl is hurting.
Yeah.
And like, sooner or later, I hope she opens up about what's going on. I'm glad that she just kind of, it was like, we could see it, the audience, that, okay, there's something wrong with her, where she's, it's just like the thing with Susie. It's like when we finally saw that there was something bothering her, and then it just left her alone. I was just like, no, like, do something with that. There was more stuff right there. But,
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of different shows. Sea Beast is a movie, but like, have you seen it?
Oh,
Yeah. So Sea Beast is on Netflix. It's animated, and it's like monster hunters. And there's this little girl who's like kind of been orphaned, and she wants to be a monster hunter, and sneaks her way onto this ship. And then things pursue, but it's a little girl, but it's so beautiful, and like her realizing there's something wrong with the system that the world is set up in, and trying to make a change, and like having an adult accompany her to help her make that change. It's a really good show. But when you said like the adult black women animated like that, I was like shit, because everything I could name was little girls who were black. So.
Yeah, and like, it's just, I always, pre-summer, it's a lot. I think back to so much of what she said, but I always think back to that, I don't know if it was an interview, but she was talking about like, why aren't there any black girls in cartoons? And she was like, because people think black girls don't watch cartoons, or they don't like them. I have met, like I said, I'm a black woman that loves cartoons. A lot of the people that I connect with are black women and like feminine presenting people that like cartoons and animation. Like, we exist. We're here. Like, stop acting like we don't exist. And it's just irritating, because it's like every time we get like an adult animated series, it's about a white dude. Like, it's about a white dude. And I'm just, listen, I am, because women barely, like, just white women in general don't even have that much either. That's all, like, animation has a misogyny problem.
That's why I was so upset when Velma got so much better.
Yeah.
That was partially racially motivated, and you cannot convince me it's not.
The Velma backlash was totally racial.
It was.
Yeah.
First thing first, shout out to the pirate crew. Second, I've been watching anime damn near my whole life. Growing up, I saw like Rock, Afro Samurai, but I grew up with a lot of like, Elder Fujoshi of yesteryear, and I wanted to ask y'all, when y'all were watching anime, what was the first time you saw someone that looked like you, like a woman of color?
Okay.
I've never seen an Indian girl in animation.
Oh, there's this.
I don't think I have.
Have you ever watched Little Nina?
No.
There's one in there. They don't watch it.
I don't think I've ever watched an anime that had an Indian girl.
Yeah, I'm showing my age here. Okay, I love Ojama Jodorimi. It's my favorite childhood anime. There was one episode with a little black girl in it, and it turns out because one of the main girls in Ojama Jodorimi, her name is Momocon, she used to live in America, but she moved back to Japan because her family moved back there, and her classmates, it was like an educational episode about racism that was actually him as well, I'm surprised. Momoko was showing her classmates old pictures of like when she used to live in America, and one of the little Asian girls was like, "Ooh, who is that?" And she was pointing at the black girl, and Momoko went off on her and defended her. She was like, "Don't you dare talk about her like that!" Because she was so nice to me. She was one of my bestest friends. She was very welcoming to me when I came to America, because I'm pretty sure they were like the only minorities in their class. But I say like childhood, it would be the little black girl. She only had like one episode, which I was adorable. But like adulthood, I love the anime manga. Alex, I see a lot of myself in her character. Even though Alex is Blasian and I'm just African American, but she was brown skinned. She wears her hair like me. I dress similar to her, and I could understand a lot of like the trauma that she dealt with and whatnot. So that right there, that's part of the reason why it's one of my favorite anime series. Because I actually can see myself in it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Laurie. Hi, Kiki. Something I've been realizing very lately is that, like, the evolution of animation in the television movie space has always gone children's shows with good writing to adult shows that are completely off the wall to purposely be like, hey, there's no kids here. And then eventually you start getting your in-betweens like Centaur World, Midnight Gospel, where it's like, we don't have to be so explicit and crazy, and we could still have what people clearly want is a mature story that doesn't have to pull punches like those of children's cartoons. But what I've also noticed is once you have this need for minorities, especially black people, we suddenly get things like the Family Matters reboot, which is disgusting. Shows like Velma, which clearly was made with the intent of getting people mad at it in some capacity, especially the people who like to target us, like white supremacists, etc. And like, it's very clear that the transition for us is being very choppy to as if like we need extra incentive where like it has to be ghetto, it has to be aggressive. It's like a caricature of what the evolution we should be going towards. That's not seen in other things like Rick and Morty, etc.
Totally. You're reminding me of the fact that like most of the Indian girl protagonists are detectives for some reason. I don't know why. If there's a cartoon with an Indian girl protagonist, she's investigating things.
Isn't it Mira?
Yeah, Mirror World Detective, and there's more than that too.
It's weird. It's interesting that you mentioned like adult animation. Everyone knows I love The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I said if you take them gargoyles off that film, that is an adult animated movie. I was like, I'm not even joking when I say that, but like a lot of people think that if we want adult animation, it has to be raunchy and vulgar or whatnot. And I was like, baby, no, I just want adult stories told realistically. Like that's what I want, because it's like you either go to like the kiddie children's cartoons, which aren't bad. But then you get basically like the explicit, raunchy, annoying, like sex, humor, violence, all of that stuff over there. And honestly, that's the reason why so many people go towards anime, because anime kind of fills that gap for what we want. But then anime has a lot of other issues too, so.
Y'all ever seen Chico and Rita? It's a really nice Afro-Latina jazz film that's like a love story, and it's adult animation, and it's not raunchy or offensive, it's just a beautiful piece of art.
It's super cute, I actually really like it. Thank you so much.
Alright, thank you guys.
First of all, I just want to say thank you to that last person for mentioning Centaur World. More people need to watch that show. But I was just wondering if either of you two had any examples of like, you know, animated women of color who started out as like offensive stereotypes, then as the series progressed, they found a way to like grow beyond that.
I want to say Valerie,
But she's still an anti-hero at the end.
oh, Bumblebee. Because, okay, you know how the Hive in Teen Titans season 3, Cyborg goes to the Hive like undercover. So the Hive is a terrorist organization, but they had to write it off as like a school for villains. Terrorist organization. So he goes in there and, you know, he's like basically expecting everyone to be a villain, and she just blends in with the crowd. So we, the audience, okay, they didn't do a good job framing it, but we, the audience, think Bumblebee is bad, and then we find out, oh, she's actually one of the good guys. She's actually one of the heroes. So I actually really love her. I was talking about her lately. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, they started off, man. I'd say, honestly, I don't know if y'all ever watched an anime called Michiko and Hachin. I see. Michiko, there are some issues where I feel like she can be very heavily stereotyped, but then also we do get to know her and understand why she acts the way she does. So I'd say that's another example. So. They tried to make a joke.
This person? Yep. Okay, yeah. Sorry, just words. Alright, so in terms of one thing that I thought of when you mentioned not seeing any Indian girls in anime, I don't know if she's quite there, but because I haven't watched it, so I don't know for sure, but earlier like last year, a friend was telling me about Revolutionary Girl Udina.
Oh yeah.
She was abused.
And I'm like, I know that she's not like in the best place of it, so.
But that's kind of the point of this panel, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are we scrounging for characters?
Yeah.
We don't have
That came to mind like as I was in line. The thing I wanted to ask more about is because I want to do like writing stuff, and
I know for the most part, like, hey, portray people as people, you know, things like that, no stereotyping, you know, all that, the kind of what I would assume would be the basic stuff of it. The thing I do find myself wondering about is like, okay, if this person is going to be a person of color, you know, this sort of environment, there are going to be things about that I didn't grow up with or didn't understand that do affect them, even if not like outwardly or just at least subtly. And I'm wondering like, what's the best way to, I guess, find sources?
I would
like,
pay a person of color for their time and ask for their experiences and how they
yeah,
came
and
from
that,
here.
and, that, and that was sort of what was coming to mind, but I just don't really know where to like search for that. So.
Honestly, when it comes to like indie animation or just comics and just making stuff in general, there will often be a person that will be willing to talk to you and help you out.
Yeah.
So Jamie, all you gotta do is ask, really. Cause one of my friends, he's making an animated series that's about a black girl, and the main character has an older sister, and mind you, he does not have an older sister. And he was just like, can I like literally just spend like 3 hours talking to you so I can figure out how to write her because I'm struggling. So yeah, just usually just asking around, paying people for their time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Have to go. We're here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hello.
My main thing, one thing, this is my first panel I ever went to, by far, one of my favorites already. But my main thing is with women of color when it comes to any animated film. I notice this a lot, but it's either, I'm going back to the stereotype thing the most, because typically the women of color I've seen in a lot of animation, they're either heavily traumatized, like, I'm sorry, either their parent died, their sibling died, they live in a horrible neighborhood. I can go on and on about that. They're either very aggressive, hostile, or violent, which obviously isn't true because yes, okay, anyone can be hostile, anyone can be slightly violent, but to only show that the most with any African American character, but especially with women, that has always gotten on my nerve because I love watching any TV show, I love watching animation in general, always grown up on it, but it gets so aggravating to see a woman that looks like me, but all you show is their ghetto side the most.
Yeah.
And another thing I noticed, how is it with so many cartoons, there's always at least maybe 2 to 3 African American women that are slightly older than me, but always got maybe like 2 to 3 kids. Like I noticed that a lot with a lot of cartoons I've been watching, I'm just like, okay, I understand the teen pregnancy thing, but I'm like, bruh, not every female has a kid like that. And that's why I like that you mentioned Penny, because she was one of my favorite characters in Miraculous Ladybug before I started watching it.
Oh, man. I probably met a Penny fan.
Like, she was one of my favorite characters, but for me, they could have wrote her so much better.
No, she's written horribly, but go ahead and say it.
Like, okay, because when I first watched it with her, with the episode mainly involving her, I was like, okay, you seem like a pretty cool character. Then when I found out she was in love with John, I was like, okay, you were so cool until you mentioned you're in love with your client. And the fact that, I understand, like, with a lot of shows, they're always trying to portray black women as very strong individuals, which, on the one hand, I'm grateful you're not portraying us always as weak, damsel in distresses type situation, but on the other hand, stop portraying us as some strong character that doesn't rely on anybody, because the fact that Penny, I'm being so rude when I say this, Penny was the only reason Jagged was in that show, aside from the kids.
He's nothing without her. I'll go ahead and say it. Like, Penny, stand up. Like, girl, get up.
Like, okay, because it was the fact that when y'all mentioned all the things that make Jagged, in my opinion, a horrible character, the fact that Penny basically runs his business, like, at some point I'm pretty sure, like, if Jagged was to fall, Penny could just take over and have a much better career than him at some point.
You know she threw hands for him at one point. Like, there was somebody that was bothering him, she hit him, and I was like,
Oh, yeah, I remember that episode.
yeah.
There was also the fact, though, like, I loved her as a character, but her writing was honestly awful. They could have wrote her in a better light, because the fact that she was written she was supposed to be professional, but the fact that she let her feelings get in the way of everything honestly got on my nerves. Because I understand, like, being in love is a good feeling, but there's a love between love and, honestly, at some point, obsession and kind of manipulation.
Yeah.
It feels like women of color always get pushed to the extremes in narratives. They don't just get to be like just a girl, just a princess or whatever. They have to be like Mulan's a warrior, or like Tiana's a fucking frog, or Penny's crazy, or yeah, you can never just be like a normal human being.
That's
There always
what-
has to be some escalation.
This is why I think women of color need to be writing in the writer's room more for animation. Because what blows me the most is that I was talking to a very lovely artist, and she was a white woman, and she was telling me that there have been more women of color and like represented people in MBEs of color popping up working in animation, but they're not in the writer's room. And then like we'll see them in the writer's room for Moon Girl, but like I said, we get one Moon Girl, we get 10 more hot messes. Yeah, like I said, animation, we have seen growth and change, but we have a long way to go, especially because the stuff with Penny was recent. And I was like, we still getting stuff like this in the 2020s? Like,
I also feel like it can have I mean, we're talking about it as adults, you know, we're not literal about it. We can observe this and just make like literary observations, but a lot of this animation that we're talking about is directed towards children who are just taking it at face value and accepting the truths that they see on the screen about themselves. So that's a big part of why this matters so much, to answer the question of the panel title.
Like, I want to do writing as more so a side job because I've been writing since I was a little kid. But there's one character that I'm writing out. The way I'm trying to have her work, I know I want her to be my skin tone, but I also have been taking notes from all the cartoons I've been watching as what not to do with that character. Like, I understand some characters in order to grow, they need a little bit of trauma, but there is a level.
I got a question for you. Is the character based on you?
On and off.
Okay.
Like,
I think Black writers especially should be free to tell their stories authentically as much as they want.
like the way I have her set up, she has some things that happened to me in the past, but obviously not every single thing, because there's a lot of things I don't need a lot of people knowing about me.
Mm-hmm.
But with a lot of characters I've been seeing, I understand like a lot of writers, the trauma part of the character is apparently what makes them stronger, but there's an entire level that people be crossing with certain characters, because some characters don't need that ridiculous amount of trauma. Like, I don't remember what this cartoon was, but there was one character who was Black, and all I remember was the fact that I'm pretty sure her entire backstory is basically someone died, someone got shot, someone died multiple times, and I was so concerned for that character instead, because I'm like, you took that a bit too far. Like, not everyone needs to die for a backstory to work.
Yeah, there's a few more people that's like asking questions. We want to make sure we get to everyone.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I want to actually open up another show that between Disney and Marvel.
Can you turn the mic like yeah, thank you.
Just, yeah, okay. I want to do another Disney and Marvel show, and that's X.
The new one?
The new one.
I
Yes.
have not watched it, but I've been hearing great things about it.
You need to. It is the closest thing to it. But anyway, I was wanted to ask about what you guys thought of Storm represented in this version of X-Men in comparison to the one way back in the early 90s to now, and what you hope for in season 2.
I wish I could answer that, but I have not seen it yet.
Next year, we'll watch it.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Sorry.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Hi.
It's SpongeBob.
I heard you mention The Hunchback of Notre Dame earlier, and that's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Thanks.
And thank you. No one else understands, but
We do.
but I want to know what you guys thought about like Esmeralda's character. Like I've seen folks on like say that she kind of falls into like the blue-eyed like person, like women of color.
Somebody got mad at me. If you ain't making people mad when it comes to like talking about race, that means you ain't doing something right. But I said something. I was like, why every time we see like a doll, black dolls, or a lot of like black animated characters, they be having light colored eyes? And I said, people were mad at me and they were like, you're being discriminatory towards people of color that, like darker skinned people of color that have blue eyes. And I was like, I'm really not, because y'all are centering yourselves in this situation. I said, most black girls and women and feminism people have brown eyes. If your only black doll in the line is going to have blue eyes, but that doll is meant to represent most black girls, then no, you failed. Because I was going off about how they always did that with Sasha. But like the thing about it is that a lot of people don't seem to think that brown eyes are beautiful on darker skinned women of color. Because I remember people used to do this thing where they would take like characters like Esmeralda that have like blue eyes and like color them brown. It's just, they were like, okay, she looks a little too ethnic. Let's try to make her look a little,
I used to wear like colored contacts when I was a teenager because I was so insecure about it making me look more Indian. Brown eyes are beautiful.
Yeah.
I think Esmeralda kind of falls into the exotic brown woman trope.
Yeah.
I do love her characters.
I love her story, but I agree. Because the entirety of the Hunchback of Notre Dame is this nasty white man lusting over her. So I'm just like, yeah.
I also have one more question. What's your guys' opinion on kind of like hand-me-down characters to people of color, like pre-existing characters like Velma, and giving her a fresh coat of paint?
I think there's like 160 permutations of the Scooby-Doo franchise, and people were being racist about Velma being Indian.
Yeah.
And I have a 30-minute video on my channel if you want to know more.
It's so generic.
Yeah.
We try to make sure we get
Race been
everybody.
Scooby-Doo 100 times. I don't care. Like old franchises like that.
Am I good? Or?
You're good.
Okay, yeah, no. One of the topics, or like the trope that you brought up that I also really don't like, it was called like the disposable black girlfriend, right?
Yeah, disposable black girlfriend.
And like the more I think about it, the more I remember like, wow, it happens a lot. And one of the ones that I think is like really weird, the more I think about it, is how, I don't know if you watch a show called Invincible.
Amber.
Where it's like,
I won't listen. Y'all hated Amber, made me like her.
yeah, no. They were like, I haven't like, it's been like a while since I've read the comic, but like Amber in the comics and Amber in the show are like two completely different people, and it's like they went out of their way to do the trope. Like, again, shout out to homie Phoenix, but like he like came to me and talked about how like, you know, I can't really say how I think, you know, Amber's like, you know, not that bad of a character, because when I do, the clan is gonna come for me on Twitter, and it's like,
Listen, if I said something. I said if Amber was white, I wouldn't be saying all this.
yeah, no, exactly. And
Because
it's like,
I remember looking at like Invincible Discourse when Amber was white in the comic, and like I was not seeing all that.
yeah, nah, and it's like, I just, why like.
The thing about it, people, let me tell you something about fandom. Fandom will find, people go to fandom thinking that like they can get away with like ignorant stuff there because it's fandom. People, I wrote an entire book about fandom racism. That's why I said people will go to fandom thinking that they can get away with being racist, not realizing like you're saying all of this stuff about a fictional black girl. This is really showing how you feel about real black girls.
Yeah,
you just think you can get
really
away with
weird,
it because you said it about a fictional character. Because there even was like a situation where, miraculous ladybug. There was a situation where like Adrian had hit Alia, and she hit him. She literally was going to die if she didn't defend herself.
Yeah.
And people were mad about the fact that she defended herself, and people were saying that she was aggressive and being nasty and this and that and third. And I was like, did we not watch the same scene? Because she would have died if she didn't fight back.
Again, shout out to Phoenix, where we're just like talking about how like, you know, I think it's really interesting how they kept them kind of dating in like the second season, and they had like that really like heartfelt like breakup at the end where it's like, you know, oh, she really does care for him, but like the life he's living, she doesn't want to be a part of that, and it's like that's really cool. But if I go on the internet, out of nowhere, you know, the clan rallies being like, thank God she's gone, and it's like, whoa, like.
Yeah, it's like I said, they wanted to add more diversity, but not realizing that a lot of comic book fans are racist, first of all. But they didn't realize that
and it's really weird because like there's like a lot of talk about like racism and stuff in comics, and it's just like, what are you reading about? Like,
yeah, they be complaining, oh my god, y'all so woke. You remember when we wrote that meeting? You remember when I had meetings? But they really, y'all are so woke. And I was like, do y'all not actually understand the material that you're looking at?
yeah, no, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You know, good talks. Also, really cool Ramona cosplay.
Thank you. You made me think that like maybe Knives Chow is a disposable Asian.
Knives is a whole nother kid. Knives kind of gives It's a trope that is very harmful for Asian women. What is it called?
Oh, like the edgy Asian girl trope? Like the
ABG?
No, it's Dragon Lady.
Oh, I was about to say.
She's not even
Dragon Lady.
Yeah.
Hello. So this is sort of like a reply to a previous person came up about when you first saw like a black or like brown person in anime that you like connected with.
Mm-hmm.
And this might be a particularly like controversial point, but if y'all remember the mid 2000s One Piece, remember when Robin was brown and she wore the cowboy outfit and you know she spoke a little Spanish, and you can kind of put together if you didn't read the manga or like look at the manga at all, if you were only introduced via the anime on TV. Oh, Afro-Latin woman. I get it, totally. Makes perfect sense, she speaks Spanish, I get it. And I was like a little kid when I was watching that and consuming it, so I was like, wow, me, that's fantastic. And you go through her backstory, you see how traumatic it is, and then I don't know how far people are in One Piece or if they care. But then she like totally went from my skin tone to palm of my hand. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know this was gonna happen. And like the discourse online surrounding like Robin's skin tone and like how she was ethnically portrayed pre-time skip versus post-time skip. That was like something that was like kind of jarring to me, introducing like the colorist aspect to anime that like when I was coming up I didn't really think that was going to be an issue.
Yeah. That is how I learned about how not just anime but Asia has a colorism problem.
Asia, and yeah, like a lot of cultures have a huge colorism problem that you kind of don't expect to leak over into other things. But I think that Robin might have been like a interesting example of like, oh yeah, this is a brown character. She historically was brown in the in like her flashbacks in the later seasons. She was still brown. If you didn't have the prior context for her character, it's kind of like, you know, why is she pale now? I don't get it. I don't understand what was this change about. And then like the discourse online about how she shouldn't move around in the first place, and like all of the negativity surrounding her character during the Alabasta and Skypiea arcs all the way through Water 7. Like it was quite strange to see how negative people portrayed her character, and then when she was pale again, all that positivity came back. At least it's what I noticed being a One Piece fan, consuming all of that during those times. So yeah, I just wanted to like bring it up.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna have to speed through the next ones.
Oh, yeah, we're out of time.
I'll be quick because
Okay.
So, just also to mention on Nico Robin's thing, in the manga, her eyes used to be brown.
Exactly.
They changed it to blue.
They changed it to
Well,
matching, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a quick
Like,
sort of
it was
thing,
real strange.
Jujutsu Kaisen question, I'm not going to mention that. What do you think about representation of women in Jujutsu Kaisen?
It's awful.
Because it's really been made.
It's awful. It's actually terrible. Somebody tried to sit here and tell me Jujutsu Kaisen has good representation. It has good representation for shonen. That's not saying much. Jujutsu Kaisen had, I remember me and my friend Emma, we made a video talking about are we awful to dead women as like a society? The answer is yes. She basically said that Jujutsu Kaisen abuses the woman trope. And then it's frustrating because they get rid of women, but the women that are still around, they don't do a good job with them. So, yeah, okay.
I wanted to talk about how in anime in general that they sexualize women a lot.
Yeah.
And mostly when they come on screen, they're either like naked and stuff like that. And especially in Fairy Tail, when Lucy, she be coming on screen.
I read Fairy Tail and I couldn't get through it because of Lucy. I couldn't laugh. I don't hate Lucy, but I was just like, okay, I can't look at that. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with the overall sexualization of women in anime. It's kind of worse when they're like a darker skin tone. So, yeah.
This is kind of going back a little bit about how like a lot of times like people of color in animation have like a lot of trauma, and I'm just like, looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, we are so much more than that. Like, there is more to us than just our trauma. Like, I get having characters with a lot of trauma and like helping them to grow for it. That's like a good character development, but I'm also like, there is so much more to us. Like, we might have a little bit of trauma. Of course, everybody naturally does, but at the same time, why not showcase how we can be successful as well?
Okay, this is an animated, it's live action, and the show was failed. Marseille Martin produced a series called Saturdays that came on Disney Channel, and it got canceled. And Marseille says she specifically wants to make media that is about Black girls being happy, because I have a lot of debates about the Black trauma discussion, but Marseille specifically says she wants to make media about Black girls being happy and showing them doing good things. And it's about like a cute little roller skating group. They actually know how to skate, and it's actually really sweet. But we got something like that, and then it was canceled.
I feel like there's probably an inclination, or the reason this happens could be because writers, white writers, feel like they can't relate to us women of color unless we're like experiencing a shared emotion. Everyone knows what pain is, so they code us that way, but it's not good.
In conclusion, we need more people of color in the writers' room. we need more people of color in the writers' room.
Can we get our slides back up just for the end to show our panels and stuff?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys for coming. We're at time.